Hey everyone, so this is my first 24-hour fast of 2021, and I'm up to 26 hours now. I thought I'd talk about some of the strategies that I've developed over my last year or so of fasting. Now, the very first thing you have to do is to address why you were eating in the first place, right? So even before you began fasting, uh, if you eat 4,000 calories a day and you really only needed 1,200 calories a day, you got to figure out why you're eating those other 2,800 calories, right? What other need you're trying to satisfy that it's not satisfying, right? And you got to go address them. So for me, the big problem last year was that I had a big fear of loud environments and I didn't want to face them. And so I would hide at home. You got to remember, this is before quarantine. I would hide at home, and often that would mean overeating. And the other thing you have to do is to think about all the troubles that eating can cause, right? It's very tempting when you reach for some food, right? Let's say I reach for, let's say, a bar of chocolate. It's very tempting to view it as an inanimate object. But when you view it in light of what can go wrong if your eating habits are out of control, it's a lot easier to handle. Let me give you an example. So in 2019, I lost a job over binge eating kind of problems. I had gone to a meeting and just couldn't wait to get out to get to my favorite foods. I do that a lot. By the way, I used to do that a lot. I would go to a social environment and then all of a sudden I want to go out to get food. At the beginning of the quarantine in March of 2020, I had gone to my favorite grocery store to get some kielbasa sausages, a natural brand, kind of take my mind off of what was going on, and they were sold out, and I just became a huge mess. I didn't even care that I didn't have toilet paper. I was in a huge mess to get the sausages. And then I realized that I was putting myself in danger. I was putting everybody else in danger. And then I realized how many social events I missed out, right? 3 years ago, going to the Black Lives Matter protest, like the Chaz earlier last year, would have been impossible for me because I would have been craving something and want to get out of there. Even certain workplace events would be challenging. When you think of it in those lights, it's not do I want my chocolate bar or not. It's do I want my chocolate bar or my life, right? Especially social events for me. And that's the regard I want people to think about, right? How food fits into the rest of their life, right? And instead of just being that one inanimate object, right? Yes, I love my chocolate bar, but how do I feel about the lack of control that I have in the rest of my life because I'm eating all the time, right? And I want people to think in those regards. Now, I want people to acknowledge that there are drawbacks, right? Acknowledge that there are times you want to eat and you're not, but dwell on all the positives that come out of it, right? For example, the big one for me is that my computer desk is a lot cleaner, right? I don't seem to have a mess on my hands. Another big benefit is that my schedule seems a whole lot better, right? I have a lot of trouble with my sleeping schedule. Right now, I'm kind of up at night. I tend to sleep later and later and later until my schedule completely wraps around. I am surprised people don't think I have non-24 because apparently only blind people can have non-24. Anyways, whatever the case is. But I find that by regularly fasting, it puts a little bit of a barrier for my sleep a barrier for me to get my sleep schedule from going too out of control, right? Sometimes I sleep later and later, and not only that, but it becomes biphasic, right? And then it doesn't hurt when I don't have to interact with anyone, right? If I'm going biphasic when I'm on vacation, so be it, right? But as soon as something comes up, oh my God, all of a sudden I try to adjust back, and now it's just a jumbled mess, right? By having these fasts, it kind of puts some regimen into the day that forces the sleep schedule to at least be semi-regular, right? So I want people to dwell on all the positives of fasting, right? So many times I hear people when they talk about a diet or about fasting, it's, oh my God, I couldn't go to this event. Oh my God, I had to say no to this food. I had to fight with myself with that. Okay, acknowledge that those problems existed, but then dwell on all the positives, right? My life is so much cleaner. My car is so much cleaner. Oh, I don't seem to have food wrappers everywhere. I have more control. I can actually go to an event and finish it, right? So, for example, back in spring of last year, I was going on the trail in Redmond, Washington to take a walk, and I would actually finish that trail without having a food craving, right? I want people to spend most of their time on that and acknowledge, yes, I had to refuse some food at the party the other day, right? I want people to do it in that order. People usually do it the other way around, right? They complain about the parties, the social events they couldn't go to. They complain about how they're hungry or so-called hungry, right? Most people aren't. They complain about that. They complain about the cravings, and then they acknowledge, yeah, I was able to go to that meeting without eating, right? Or yeah, I was able to fly somewhere and not eat on the plane so that my seat was a little bit neater, right? I didn't have to worry about bringing something onto the plane. I had more space in the luggage, right? People might acknowledge that for 2 seconds, but they dwell on all the negatives, right? Do it the other way around. Okay, the other big suggestion I have is to fast one moment at a time, right? So for example, today I'm hoping to take a day trip into Missoula to look at an apartment there and to go walk on the trails there. Tomorrow, we got the apartment I was looking at across the street in Wallace, Idaho. They're not sure about their Wi-Fi connection, right? And then I have to tutor somebody on over Zoom, and I know a place in Missoula I can hang out to do that. So do those one event at a time, right? Don't think about I'm going to have to fast during whatever. Just focus on what do I have the next couple of hours. Well, I got to drive to Missoula, right? And hopefully catch the moon, a few good photos of the moon. And actually, don't even think about that. Think about walking to the car without having to munch on something first, right? One session at a time, right? I see too many people get bogged down by the fact that their diet has to, well, don't even call it a diet or fasting, right? It's a new lifestyle, right? A cleaner lifestyle, one where you're not intruded on, one where you can actually finish your task, one where your desk is a whole lot cleaner. But people get very overwhelmed by the fact that that has to go on for, well, the rest of your life, even though you're enjoying it, right? So enjoy it a moment at a time, right? So anyways, find out what you're trying to satisfy with food and actually go satisfy them. Fast a moment at a time. Acknowledge that there are a few drawbacks, but dwell on all the positives that come out of it. And try to think of food in the grander scheme of things, right? It's not just that one chocolate bar or that one bucket of ice cream. In some ways, it could be your social life. It could be your professional life that you are trying to manage, right? It's not just that inanimate food object.